Hi guys! Stephanie from Mrs. D's Corner. Sorry I'm a couple minutes late. Just trying to get in here and get everything around in my office to get ready to go for this live. I'm so excited to pop in to share with you some tips and tricks for kind of scheduling and meeting all the needs of all of your kids when you're doing resource and inclusion. So let me first tell you my classroom experience. Many of you may not know that I've taught resource and inclusion. My last couple of years have been self-contained, so that's mostly my most previous experience. But my very first year I taught in Virginia. I was a co-teacher, so I was kind of like the inclusion slash resource teacher because I did pull my kids out. So 7th grade. And then I've also taught resource at the 5th grade level. And then in a charter school, I kind of did resource slash inclusion for, what was it? It was like K to 8. So it was a very wide range, but most of my resource, sorry, it's getting ready to storm and all of my trash recyclables are flying down the street. That's not good. Sorry. Most of my experience with resource and inclusion is in the higher elementary slash middle school age. I've also worked in the high school. I was instructional support team facilitator, more of like a behavior interventionist. So I do have a little experience at the high school level as well. So basically what I did was I made myself a little cheat sheet of all the notes that I want to touch on this topic and kind of just share with you how I've run the resource classroom setting and tips that you can use also as well as inclusion. So I'm really excited to get started. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If I don't get to them during the live, I apologize. I will go back through and answer all of your questions, link any blog posts or resources that I mentioned. I just got home back to Atlanta today, so I didn't really have enough time. I did, but I was taking a nap on the couch. It was an early day. So let's get started. So today we're going to talk about resource inclusion, and I know that one of the biggest struggles, and I hate to say this, but it's always going to be a struggle, feeling like you don't have enough time to teach the general ed curriculum as well as teach your students IEPs and everything else in between. It's a constant struggle, and I think it's one that all of us feel no matter what we teach. There's never enough time to teach everything, and we always want to give our students more. So that's a really good thing. That means that you love your job and you're really in this for the kids. So take a step outside of that feeling and just kind of pat yourself on the back because you're incredible for feeling that way. But the first couple of things I want to touch on are some rules. They're not really rules, but they're kind of just like reminders for any classroom setting, but more specifically, resource and inclusion, no matter what age. So elementary, pre-K, high school, middle school. Never give up on a child or assume that because a child is in middle school or high school and doesn't know the basic sight words, or maybe this child is on a kindergarten level. Don't ever give up on this child. Don't ever let general ed teachers or administration or anybody try to tell you that this child can't perform grade level tasks or the content on his or her level. Don't be the person that gives up on your kids. Get them there. That's our job. Never give up on our kids. That's a really, really big one. Also, don't simplify the work for the students. So you can accommodate and you can modify, but don't make it simpler or easier for them. You simply just modify. That was a really terrible word to use. You just modify and accommodate. Don't simplify. Don't make it easier so they get it done faster. You still need to hold them to high expectations when it comes to academics. So just modify what they need. Give them the accommodations that are in their IEP, but don't simplify the work for them. Be proactive and hold high expectations. Have work for your students to do it on all times, on and above their current level. So I will go over that, kind of how I did that in the resource setting and in the co-teaching setting in the middle school. And also you want to establish routines as soon as possible. So every time that I've taught resource, I was given like the first 2 weeks of school are kind of like where you're going into the general ed teacher's room where you're going to have kids and you're getting to know the kids and working with them that way. And you're getting your schedule down packed. So that way when you start pulling your kids on at the very beginning of the 3rd week or maybe the end of the 2nd week, your kids know who you are, you know your kids' IEPs, you know what they're working on, and you can see firsthand maybe if there was any regression. You can see that in the general ed curriculum or the general ed classroom before you pull them to your room. So the first thing you want to do is set your schedule. I know this is really hard sometimes to do over summer because schedules aren't set usually until school comes back in session, right? So know who's coming in and out of your classroom and look at their IEPs. Know what they're coming in for, what purposes and what academics. Some kids might only come to you I've had kids come to me just for the social aspect of it, or maybe to learn social skills with the friends that are in that class at that time. Maybe not necessarily the academics, maybe they flourish with the academics, but it's the social experience that they needed. So know what time your students are coming, when they're coming, where they're coming from, who their teacher is. You need to know everything and then accommodate that or build that into your schedule. Also, don't be upset or flustered or overwhelmed. I mean, I know you're going to be, but when your schedule changes like 600 million times the first week of school or the first week that you have your kids, it's going to happen. So just kind of roll with the punches. Every day is a new day, and it's okay that your schedule is going to be changing. It means you're doing the best for your kids. You're trying to find what is working best for them. Read the IEPs and know what your students are working on. So that also goes into kind of knowing what kind of groups you can put your kids in your classroom. And I'll talk more into that as I go through like what I did and how I grouped my classroom. But read the IEPs, know what your kids' goals are. Where were they at the end of last year? Where do they need to be? When's their annual IEP due? Do they have testing coming up? You should be reading your kids' IEPs. It's like actually should be above setting your schedule. Read your kids' IEPs and get to know them very well. Last tip, I guess, is know what lessons the general ed teachers are going to teach. So whether you're teaching, you're only like resource K-2, or maybe you're just resource K-1, or maybe you're lucky and only have resource for like one grade. Regardless of how many grades you have within your resource classroom, you need to know what your general ed teachers are working on, whether that's them emailing you their lesson plans every week, you meeting with them as they write their lesson plans, you going to their weekly planning meetings, or whatever that looks like to get you on the same page as all of those teachers. You need to do it. What it looked like for me was when the teacher finished her lesson plans, she would send them to me, and then when I co-taught, and then I would send her my lesson plans, we would switch off every other unit. So it worked that way. But I know with inclusion, it's a lot different, and with resource, it's a lot different than co-teaching. But you want to know all of the ins and outs of what your kids are learning on each level, each grade level. What are they learning? Also, another great thing is to get the scope and sequence or the long range plans for the year, for either from the district or from the school. Somebody has it. Ask for it. Even if some admin tells you, oh, I don't know what it is, or nobody on the team has it, somebody has a scope and sequence for English. Somebody has a scope and sequence for math. Like, what are they following? How do they know what they're even supposed to be teaching? Because you know they're not winging it. So find that scope and sequence and find the person who has it. Don't be afraid to ask, because it's very important for you. Okay, so the big one, implementation. So implementation for me and for a lot of people is difficult. Like I said, we have to teach what the general ed teachers are doing, but we also have to work on these IEP goals. And sometimes our kids in resource and inclusion are a couple of grade levels behind what grade they're actually in. So this is kind of what I did. You can tweak it, take it with a grain of salt. If you've already tried it, send me a message. We can kind of try and work out and see if we can figure something out. But this is kind of what I did, and you can tweak it to best fit the needs of your classroom, your school, your kids, and what you're doing. So implementation. Usually on Monday at the start of the week is when they start a new lesson, right? They start a new topic. So on Monday, you'll either be in the classroom with them or you'll pull them out, right, after the lesson. And that's when you're going to have like a whole group lesson on that topic. I know sometimes you're going to have like second and third grade at the same time, during the same time, completely opposite things. You'll make it work. If you need help with that, please let me know. I'm happy to figure out logistics with you. I love doing that kind of stuff. But Monday should be like your whole group lesson kind of stuff. Tuesday is going to be a whole group refresh, and then you're going to start breaking up into groups or centers. So that's where knowing your kids' IEPs is really going to help you be able to break these kids up into centers. You might have second and third graders at the same time, but you might have a third grader and a second grader on a first grade level, and you can group them together even though they're in separate grade levels. Does that make sense? So know your kids' levels and what they're on. So Tuesday, you're going to do whole group refresh, whatever they were learning. You're going to finish it up in general ed, finish up whatever the teacher was doing. If they're doing a project, learning the lesson in math that they worked on, you're going to do that. They're going to finish it throughout the week, but you're also going to be starting breaking out into groups. So Wednesday, Thursday, so it's going to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Thursday, Friday are kind of grouped together. So Wednesday, Thursday, you're going to do your center rotations. You're going to finish up your general ed lessons. You're going to do your centers or work bins, and if you have questions about those, you can click the videos tab here in the group. Excuse me. Oh, do you hear that thunder? And squirrel. And you can watch the previous video on work bins, task bins, IEP boxes, and how I kind of did all of that as well. So there is a video here for that tutorial if you're kind of curious how that works. But Wednesday, Thursday is going to be your day. And what center rotations look like for me, this is, I learned when I first got out of college, my very first job was for summer school. So I graduated in May and I started teaching in June, like the very next month. And I was grateful enough to have amazing paraprofessionals in that classroom that were with those kids during the school year. And what I learned is something that I continually use is work, play, work, play, work, play when it comes to centers. Now, play is not like, let's get Barbies out. That may be appropriate though for dramatic play. But for example, Barbies or watching Daniel Tiger, that's play to the kids. I mean play in terms of academic play. So puzzles. What else did I write down here? Writing math facts on the board, spelling with magnetic letters, things that are academic, but the kids find fun. If that's writing in sand, then that's a play center. They're practicing writing their sight words, their spelling words in sand. That's going to be your play center. And you'll switch those out. So you'll want to have like 10 different ones. I think I have a list of 6 here that you can use. You'll want to switch those out. So you're going to have work, which is where they're going to come work with you, or they're going to be on a computer doing something like keyboarding or typing their spelling words, or they're going to be working with their IEP work bin, or you're going to have their own bin and they have their own work to do, or maybe they're finishing up general ed work, things that they have to glue or cut something out. They can be sitting at your table still, but they're doing work independently on their own, maybe with you watching them out of the corner of your eye. So you're doing center rotations, you have one group with you. So you're gonna do work, play. So you could say, okay, work, we're gonna work on whatever you're doing in gen ed. We're gonna finish it up. Then we're going to start working on IEP goals. And this is when you're going to start monitoring IEP goals and progress monitoring, data collection, and working on those IEP goals that maybe you're in general ed, 4th grade, you're working on math problems for addition, or no, math problems for multiplication and division. But the child still needs to be able to do those and be able to work through word problems, right, with modifications and accommodations. But maybe this child is still working on addition. So during whole group, you're working on the word problems for multiplication and division on the child's level with accommodations and modifications. But then when you're doing small group, this child's working on addition. And maybe it's addition with groups, 3 plus 3 plus 3, 3 times 3. So you're still working on multiplication, but you're working on those IEP goals that tie together. Does that make sense? So work, play. So the next center they go to is going to be something that they need to be able to do independently. It needs to be something that they deem as play. It could be, I know I mentioned keyboarding. Keyboarding is a great idea. So I have 6 different things you could do as a play, but it's not technically play. Like to us, it's academic. It's things they can do on their own, but to them it's play. They don't have to sit with the teacher and learn, because that's no fun, right? They want to do things that are fun for them. So practicing keyboarding. I'm not affiliated with Keyboarding Without Tears, but I have used it for 2 years in my last classroom in self-contained, and it is incredible. Keyboarding Without Tears, you can do it on a computer, you can do it on an iPad, an iPhone, a tablet. Whatever you have, you can do it with your kids. So Keyboarding Without Tears is fantastic. Practicing basic skills. So I said getting puzzles. Puzzles are great. Whether they're actual puzzles like that you get at the Dollar Tree, or that you get at Walmart or Target or Parents Donate, or you find at the Goodwill, or they're puzzles like hundreds chart puzzles from my TPT store. That could be something fun, like a picture mystery puzzle, hundreds chart puzzle. They're working on the hundreds chart, but they're excited about the puzzle, right? puzzles, writing math facts on the board. I don't know what it is, but kids love writing on whiteboards. Whether you're going to have them have individualized whiteboards or huge whiteboards like, where am I? This one over here. You're going to let them write on the board. Have magnet letters and have them spelled, right? Get your note cards out and have them magnet them to the board and write them out. Something that's fun for them. Spelling magnetic letters. Just doing things like that. Those are really fun for the kids, and they're easy for you to switch out every other week or every couple of weeks to give them something new. You could do learning how to study for a test. That's a good one. I don't have any tips for that. I kind of did like a quick search of like quick things you could add. Learning how to study for a test is a big one. It's definitely for older grades. Dictionary skills. Whoo! Dictionary skills. Take those spelling words that you have and have them find them in the dictionary. If you want them to practice their writing, have them write out the word, have them write out part of the definition. You can even have them do this on a computer. Have them search, type their spelling words, things like that. You could have an unwind or a cool down spot. Now this could be the same thing as like a sensory area, but it would be a place in the classroom where maybe your center rotations are every 15 minutes, or maybe they're every 30 minutes because you have the kids every single day. So you don't need to finish a full center rotation in one day. Maybe you'll finish it in 2 or 3 days, but your kids are going to hit each center throughout the week. So an unwind or a cool down center with different sensory things, maybe a cool beanbag chair with a lava lamp. Are lava lamps still cool? Is that even a thing? But you could have a lava lamp or some kind of cool light, a bin full of sensory fidgets and things like that. You could also have fine motor and gross motor practice. So cutting things out, coloring a picture. You can do sight word searches in pictures and have them color them out. There's so many different things you can do with fine motor. Think outside the box. Really find out what your kids find entertaining. What do they want to work for? That could even be your unwind or cool down spot. You could have them have a couple minutes on an iPad. And that might be like their congratulations, you finished everything spot. You never know. Like, make it work for you. Utilize IEP work bins, and this is where your work play comes in. So one work center, one workstation is going to be working with you as the teacher. Then you're going to have them go to play. Then they're going to go to a workstation. Ideally, the next workstation needs to be something they can do independently. Whether that's an adapted work binder, whether they're reading a book silently, that's another good one. Reading a book silently, they're doing an adapted book, they're doing a listening center, that's a fantastic one. A listening center, whatever it is, the next work center after working with the teacher, so work, play, work, needs to be something they can do independently without your help. Our kids in resource are very capable of working independently. And then go back into play, work, play. So they're really going to rotate. You're going to have different spots in your classroom where they're going to rotate through all of these things. Doesn't need to go in a circle, but maybe you'll have them labeled with this is the blue center, this is the red center, this is the circle center, this is the square center, or even with numbers. Make it simple. Make it simple for them to be able to follow. They don't need to have a set schedule. If you have a kid who you know is going to be out on Thursday, maybe start them with you on Wednesday, right? So that you know that they get to at least see you, maybe not get through their IEP work bin. But you can do it that way. I have a hair that's tickling my arm. So that's kind of how I worked when I did resource. So again, Monday, you're going to start the week with the whole group lesson. Tuesday, you're going to refresh the lesson, and then you're going to break into your smaller groups. Wednesday, Thursday are going to be the start of your center rotations. You're going to use your IEP work bin time to collect data during that time as well. And then Thursday, Friday are IEP stuff where you're going to pull kids while they're doing different centers, and you're going to collect data on their IEP goals, practice doing the skills and all of that fun stuff. But lastly, I just wanted to end this live. I know it's overwhelming, and I know that it doesn't ever really stop. Special ed never really stops being overwhelming, no matter what you're teaching. And I'm not just saying that to make you feel better. Like, it's everyone. We all, like, what's that? I've shared it before. Something about being a hot mess. It's okay. We're all a hot mess. Like legitimately, we are all a hot mess and we're just trying to stay above water just like you are. So don't be afraid to reach out for help and don't let the first weeks of school overwhelm you. You and your students are going to find the right groove that is going to work for you and your classroom and your school, and the schedule is going to work itself out as it always does. So don't feel overwhelmed. I'm always here. Please post within the group if you have any questions. We are all here to help. I think we're over 4,000 members strong now, so there are a lot of different ways that we can all help each other. We come from a lot of different experiences and backgrounds, so we're really here for each other to help one another, which is fantastic. So I'm going to answer Beth's question really quick, and then I'm going to get going. If you have any other questions, please, please, please either leave it here, post it in the group and I'll approve it. Send me a message directly. However you need to get your question answered, not your answer question, your question answered. That's what we're here for. How often do you change out the activities for your IEP work bins? Is something I'd love to try out this year. So for more like super specifics on IEP work bins, you're gonna want to watch the previous video, Beth, but it really depends on the kids. Sometimes it's every other week, sometimes it's 3 weeks, sometimes it's 4 weeks. I did IEP work bins in one classroom, but that didn't work for another classroom that I was in, other resource settings. So I did folders, and my kids had different worksheets, and I know worksheets are like the bane of our existence, but it had different worksheets in it and activities that they could do that practiced working on their IEP skills. And Friday was the day. This was when I worked fifth grade at a charter school. We had Fun Friday. And every Friday, the kids had to earn Fun Friday. So by doing all of their work and yada, yada, yada. And then on Friday, if they earned Fun Friday after we did our progress monitoring, so this usually was practicing our multiplication, we finished all of our general ed work and any other progress monitoring that we needed to do. And once they finished that, then it was time for them to have Fun Friday. And that was basically the play center, right? Different puzzles. They could play board games together. Board games are another great one instead of puzzles. It's just a bunch of different play activities that you kind of Jedi mind trick kids into thinking they're cool. They are cool, but they don't think they are. But you'll get there. So, again, if you have any questions, please let me know. I don't remember off the top of my head what Thursday's live is about, but the schedule is here within the group. So if you have any questions, you can click the events link to see what is coming up. The TPT sale starts tomorrow. Don't forget to leave your wish list items on the other wish list thread that's going on, and I'll pick winners tonight. And I'll see you guys soon. I'm so glad that I got to be home in time and hang out with you guys today because I've missed you over the last week and a half. So I'll see you guys in the group. Bye.